We have been fortunate enough to work in fairly extreme natural settings. We've done 2 projects at Svalbard, which is at 78 degrees north, which means it's very close to the North Pole. It's a very hostile environment, and it has sort of very, what would you say? Nature is very prevalent. It's very visible. It's there all the time. And nature, both in terms of mountains and fjords and so on, but also in terms of weather, of climate, of wind, of drifting snow, and so on. And I guess for both of those projects in Svalbard, it's been important for us to relate to as many aspects of the place, of the history of the place as possible in a way. In many ways, we would like this to be, we would like our architecture to be sort of open for interpretation in a way that we know that architecture is not made when we're doing the drawings. Architecture is made when someone looks at it. That there's always a person that has his or her own story, or his or her own relationship to whatever that experiences the architecture, which means that we can't control what people think when they look at our architecture. And we think that's one of the greatest aspects of sort of being able to put objects into the world. And we would like then to give this a richness, but also sort of a strangeness. I think we always in the discussions in our office, strangeness is always sort of a theme that we would like to make it sort of strange, that it should be sort of on other occasions we've argued for that we would like the experience of our buildings to be like some sort of shockingly obvious, that you should be shocked, but you should also think that, oh, this is sort of makes sense. This relates to, or it's sort of, I can understand why it's looking like this. I think it's really hard to find sort of one method. I think we're trying to explore different kinds of architectures, different kinds of methods. A lot of it is done through discussion. I mean, the use of words within the design team, trying to decipher what is this, what is the program, what is this, what is what's the essence or what's the strangeness of this place. It's kind of like one of my favorite quotes in terms of describing what architecture is Jacques Herzog's description where he makes the similarities between being an architect and being a criminal investigator. That's actually the same task. That your task as an architect is just like the criminal investigator arriving at the scene of the crime. That you have to have all your senses open to find out, well, use your sensibility or sensitivity to find possible lead points towards the murderer in a way. Doing a pavilion is a specific task, different from doing any other kind of architecture. That's at least how we've felt it. We've never done any pavilion like this before. It gives some completely different possibilities. In terms of our general approach of doing some sort of chameleon-like architecture, there's hardly any clues in that white box. We started out talking about the bricks of the floor, if we should just get a whole pile of bricks and try to see what we could do with that. We have talked our way to a solution where we don't want this to be like a single space that you're walking into and then out of, but that it should be more of a passage, that it should be some sort of analogy to go for a walk in a way. And that experiencing this pavilion should be also separating you from the more sort of social context of the exhibition space itself. We know that the pavilion has to be placed there in a very short amount of time. We have chosen to use sort of almost like a given structural method, the log construction, which in many ways is sort of very well suited for prefabrication and moving to another place. Actually, large parts of Norwegian cities are put together by houses that have been moved from somewhere else. It covers a whole series of different aspects also regarding the current sort of highly necessary talk or thought about environmental issues. A log house is just a giant CO2 storage in a way. It's also a construction that can be reused. We would like to sort of make a design for a reuse of this pavilion. There are many other aspects also. Current log construction as it is, as you can see it in Scandinavia today, could hardly be considered to be part of sort of a carefully considered architecture. Very often these buildings look not very nice at all. They're sort of trying to relate to aspects of a building culture that is not very often considered to be architecture at all. And sort of to try to almost, what would you call that, to sort of to be able to use or sort of to make a twist to this, to sort of see if is there a possibility for an architecture within this system. In addition to that, it turns out that log construction today is a highly sophisticated production, that these things that were traditionally made by a man with an axe is now done by a computer-generated machinery, almost like it's not touched by human hand at all. So we think there's a sort of a complexity to that, to the construction that we find relevant and that we hope that people will actually experience when they see it.